Hello, everybody. It's a delight to see that sea of shining faces out there. My name is Dambara. This is my wife, Manisha. And those are unusual names. I'll tell you what they mean. They're Sanskrit names that occasionally folks ask for spiritual names to help tune in to a quality, a divine quality, perhaps, which sort of ties in with our topic today of seeking the kingdom of God first things first. But anyway, my name means self-restraint. So that's all I have to say about that. And my wife Manisha's name means mind of God, or divine intuition. So I have to be real careful not to ignore her advice. Because she's usually right. In fact, dare say 100% of the time. So today's topic, well, not topic, but the affirmation is humor. And I have a joke, and I don't know if I can work it into our topic, so I'm just going to tell it to you, okay? So, doctor is receiving a patient, and the patient's pretty nervous, and doctor says, okay, well, I have bad news and good news. Bad news is you've only got 3 weeks to live. Patient says, that's horrible news. Well, what's the good news? Doctor says, I just won the lottery. So, I will work that in. That's an example of not taking ourselves too seriously. And I don't know, I fall into the pit every once in a while of taking myself too seriously. I don't know if you ever do that. But I had the blessing of getting some advice once from Swami Kriyananda. It's the only interview I ever had with him where I needed some advice because I was just kind of confused, and he agreed to talk to me a little bit. And basically the advice he gave me was don't take yourself too seriously. So, you know, that has a lifetime worth of meditation right there that I've been able to reflect on. But I think that applies to all of us too because, you know, we all have our own particular story. And in fact, it's important that we do. God is expressing through each of us uniquely. And I was just reading a little bit at the beginning of a book that's titled How God Changes Our Brain, which Mitch recommended to me, and I appreciate that. And it's very interesting because it just, you know, from the little bit that I gather, it talks about how, well, two things. One is that by doing what, you know, is common to all religious practices, which is just feeling love of God, feeling devotion in our hearts, lifting up the energy, focusing it as much as we can on God, that we're biologically structured in such a way that gets all of our energies aligned where things work better. We're just happier. Life is more efficient. We feel more harmony with life. And whether you call it this ism or that ism, you know, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we just do that. Okay, I'm harking back. I remember Jack LaLanne. Do you remember Jack LaLanne? Okay. Those of you that don't, look it up on Wikipedia. Okay. But Jack LaLanne was a guy that was one of the earliest proponents of physical fitness. And I heard, it was just great. He was a TV personality, and he was always Mr. Positive. He just, you know, anything he could do to encourage you to just try a little harder to do daily exercise. And he was an example of that. You know, he was super fit, and he would do these birthday feats, F-E-A-T, where every year on his birthday he would do something that was just like wild and crazy as a physical fitness demonstration. I used to live down by San Francisco Bay Area. So one time he would swim across the bay tugging like however many tugboats represented his, you know, years that he was 70 years old, 70 tugboats that he was swimming and towing behind him. Pretty amazing. But on a radio interview one time, they asked him, okay, now you've done all these things. And he tried everything that he could think of just to experiment with himself and see whether it worked. And they said, so what advice do you have? And he said, I don't care what you do, so long as you do it. Now, this is the trouble of being over 60, is that punchlines kind of just sort of fade out into the so long as you do it vigorously and enthusiastically. So really, it doesn't matter what we do, what particular religion we're part of, or, you know, non-religion. It doesn't really matter as long as we just get all our energies in line. Now, I personally think it happens to work best when we have devotion as part of that picture, where it isn't just some dry intellectuality, but actually feeling love in our hearts for something. And this is why the great masters tell us that God, can be not only just, that's one of the most undefined, undefinable words that we have in the English language, God. What does that mean? But how about if we try what Yogananda suggested, is think of God in this way as 8 qualities. There are 8 qualities of spirit. Okay, help me out with them. What are they? Wisdom, love, light, peace, power, sound, smiling, that would be joy, okay? Calmness, and think we got it?
I think you have 9.
9. Humor, that's the 9th quality. So if we're just, feeling a little bit kind of lost, as I was that one time, when I talked to Swami Kriyananda, well, it helps a lot to just remember those 8 qualities of spirit. And you can find them in most of the books that we have out here. But just think, okay, what am I, put them up on your refrigerator. Okay, what am I not feeling enough of that I'd like to concentrate on more? What's the thing that I can latch onto the most right now? I may not be able to do pure divine love. I may not know what that means, but can I work a little bit on calmness? Okay, maybe. I can focus on that a little bit. Or peace. Difference between those is calmness is this dynamic, unshakable feeling inside. Yogananda said where you can stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. Okay, well, if you're not up to that level, then maybe just how to feel a little more peace in your heart. Maybe take some yoga postures. Or humor, joy, feeling divine joy. Yogananda suggested to read at least one funny thing per day. Isn't that good advice? I love that advice. So whatever it takes to do that. Now, okay, so that brings me to my second joke, all right? So a man is playing golf, and he's in the middle of his putt when all of a sudden a funeral procession goes by. So he stops in the middle of his putt, takes off his hat reverently, is quiet while the procession goes by, and his golfing partner says, that is the most touching and thoughtful thing I think I've ever seen. And the guy says, well, we were married 35 years. So that's another example of not taking ourselves too seriously. Right? So, love, joy, peace, calmness, wisdom, which a lot of the books we have out there, some of the writings of Swami Kriyananda, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, that's about the wisest book I can think of out there. Reading Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, that's got wisdom and humor together, just delightfully, and the other qualities. It's like trying to remember the names of the 7 dwarfs, but we're not going to go there, okay? But also, it helps a lot to visualize God as represented through some saint or spiritual master that has lived that one-pointed focus and radiates that out. So everybody turn around and look at that picture on the back wall there. That's Yogananda's last smile. It's known as that because that picture was taken 1 hour before he consciously left his body. So that was at a banquet in Southern California, and he had kind of dropped hints to people that he would be leaving soon and how he would do it and such. And so the photographer taking that picture, Yogananda must have known, okay, let me just radiate out divine love and reassurance to everybody. And so that picture, the last smile, kind of represents that. So just having an image of some great master like that with just those eyes, that countenance. These different masters here, can represent different qualities to some of us. Yukteswar can represent that need for discipline. If you're just a little bit kind of loose about doing your practices regularly and that you need to, just like exercising regularly, okay, what can I do to kind of just check in with Yukteswar and just kind of help me out here. And it's okay to ask these guys or whoever, you feel inspired by, ask them to help you. That's their job. Not being in a physical body is no limitation for them. They are timeless. Recently, I heard a story that Devi, Naiswami Devi, is co-director of Ananda Worldwide, and she told a story that she'd heard while in Italy recently, where a devotee there, was just in the middle, as we all are, and I'm remembering now a second quality of that book I talked about that I didn't mention, so we'll get back to that, okay? But this person was kind of in the midst of a little uncertainty and confusion and just needed that divine reassurance. She told Devi that she had a dream. Oh, no, actually it wasn't like this. It was that they were out somewhere for some event, and there was a person they didn't know that kept coming up and wanting to say something, but then thinking better of it and going away, and then coming back, and that happened a couple of times. And finally this person said, "Is there something that you'd like to say?" The person said, "Okay, yes, actually, there is, because I have the ability in my life that I have kind of a psychic recognition, and I'm able to just see, people in their astral bodies trying to come through. And I just need to ask you, has your father passed on recently?" And the woman said, "No." And she said, "Well, I see this man that looks like a father figure that is standing behind you and is trying to tell you it's all going to be okay." And that was Swami Kriyananda. And the fact that he left his body a couple of years ago is not a limitation. I found that very reassuring and just personally reassuring. I just, as we all do, I went through just a little bit of uncertainty recently, just about, am I doing the right thing or whatever, And first of all, it's great being part of a community, because as I was sharing with some friends the other day, they all had great pieces of advice that were very reassuring. But then hearing this story was very reassuring, to realize that all the great masters, if we call on them, even when we don't, are there to tell us it's really okay. And this was the other quality in that book, which was that not only does this seeking something larger than ourselves work for us biologically, but that we all are structured uniquely. We have this completely individual set of karmas, the way I would put it, that is just completely unique to our own particular story in life. And it's very important to remember that, because it's easy to fall into comparing with others, or judging. And both of those are just such wastes of energy. And I have spent a lot of time doing those. So I can talk from experience. They really don't do a lot of good, other than you just learn really well that doesn't accomplish anything. When we compare ourselves with others, we always lose. And what we want to do is to just aspire, to our own higher selves. When we can relax in that and just be ourselves and let God shine through us and express through us uniquely and individually, then not only do we relax and give the people around us a little bit of a break, that we're not so tense, but we also appreciate the fact that everybody around us is this unique expression of the divine. And when we can just see that, all these incredible ways that God is expressing through us, what a joy that is. It's, becoming kind of winterish weather here. So we go into the fall season and winter, and it's the perfect time to be able to go within. And just like we don't want the tree to be attached to all those beautiful leaves, it's a great show in the fall when they change color, but they will drop away. Is that wrong? Is that a problem? Only if we're attached to things being a certain way. But God knows what's best. We have these cycles we go through. And there are times when we need to be outward, to everything there's a season. And there's times when we need to be inward. So this is a beautiful time to begin that process of just really resting in the knowledge that God alone is our true source of reassurance and happiness. And yes, we can experience that in a variety of ways. That doesn't mean don't be involved in the world. That doesn't mean don't seek happiness. But when we do realize that that's God through us, realize what the source of that happiness is, it doesn't lie in things outside. Because when those things go away, like the leaves of a tree, or like our own particular identity with how we want to be, that is going to change, and we are going to go away. And, before we recycle as some other expression, the more we can identify with that spirit that's shining through us, the more we can relax when those changes happen and support others when changes happen through them too. Another example comes to mind of how people can bring God into their daily lives. And that is, I'm thinking of the McSweeney brothers. They are longtime Ananda members. One is Swami Ananta, who's at Ananda Village now, and his brother Gary McSweeney in Palo Alto. And both of them came from a family of steel workers, McSweeney Steel, down in San Francisco Bay Area. So their upbringing, along with their other brother, was working the steel yard and, working with all the steel workers that were there, who were not necessarily that overtly spiritual a group, but they talked about how their father would always be very supportive of those people, and sometimes if the worker just had a drinking problem and, was having family problems, whatever, the head of their dad, who was a saintly character apparently, would just kind of do his best to, really support that person to kind of get back on track again. But my point here is that Ananta talks about working in the steel yard, bending the rebar that they used to do, for the construction work that they did. He thought of that as, and a term I'll use is his puja table. Now, puja, for those who don't know, is a term in India of offering to God. It's a ritual of offering oneself to God through holding up. You'll see us do this during our ceremony, the Festival of Light, where we'll hold a candle up and offer it to the masters. So it's symbolic outwardly of offering everything inside of us up to divine. But that doesn't mean that we have to be something else than what we are already. No matter what we're doing, we can offer ourselves up to the divine, just like the McSweeney brothers working in the steel yard. Ananta thought of that as his puja table. This is what I'm offering to the divine today, my working in the steel yard. So whatever we're doing, having a family, working with our kids, just coming up with classes that we're trying to do, or whatever it is, that is our unique way of offering ourselves up to the divine. Just let God flow through us and express through us. Don't take ourselves so seriously. And the more we can just kind of enjoy that flow of divine energy, the more we realize what's really happening here, that it's all God, expressing in so many different unique ways. And when we can get with that, then when it's time for us to leave this particular form, it doesn't matter. It's just the wave merging back into the ocean of spirit again. Isn't that nice? That I think our problems come when we identify with this particular form. And, this is, we have to do that to express in this unique way for God. But this particular form is going to go away and merge back into the ocean. Well, when we do that, when we're the ocean, we're all of it. We're expressing in all these different ways. And that's the state that Yogananda and all these masters were in. And they came here to reassure us that that's our true nature, and we can do that too. And all we need to do is just come back as often as we can. We talked earlier about concentrating here at the point between the eyebrows. Yogananda said if you were to do one thing, that it would be that. One thing that would be effective spiritually. Just as often as you remember, concentrate here. Lift your energy up. And that's the point in our brain where when our energy is magnetized up there, it's our connection with the divine. It's the highest point in our own particular human brain. And when we do that while either meditating or working our puja table in the construction yard or whatever it is, that gets our energies aligned so that we let God express through us and lift us up into unity with Him. Blessings. So I think from the depths of slumber as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from Thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises, loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams with threads of memories, on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. Every night in time of deepest sleep, when my peace dreams and calls joy, joy, my joy comes singing evermore, God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any, God, God, God. One more time. God, God, God. Thank you, sir.